Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm your English teacher Ananya. This is lesson 7 in our conversation lesson series, and I hope you're thoroughly enjoying the lesson series so far. In the previous lesson, we talked about online shopping using natural expressions. Now, if you have missed that lesson, there's a link in the description. In today's lesson, we're learning how to talk about expressing your opinions and even disagreeing in English, just like how, fluent English speakers do. The theme of today's lesson is expressing opinions and disagreements. You will listen to a conversation between two friends, Mike and Emma. Now, pay close attention to all the highlighted words and phrases, and even if you don't know all of them, you know the drill, right? I'm going to explain each one with meaning, examples, and how to use them naturally in everyday speech. So are you ready to listen to the conversation? Come on, let's go.
It's been a while. How have you been?
Pretty good, just busy with work mostly.
Don't you think remote work is totally killing productivity? I mean, people are getting paid to be in their pajamas all day.
Okay, I gotta weigh in here. I'm actually way more productive working at home.
Come on, that's ridiculous. Most people just watch Netflix, Reels, and YouTube Shorts all day.
Well, I can totally refute that. I actually work longer hours from home because I don't have to deal with travel, stress, and office politics.
Emma, maybe you are disciplined, but, most people aren't. My cousin literally keeps munching during meetings with his camera off.
Yeah, there might be a grain of truth there. Some people definitely take advantage of the system.
Exactly. And Emma, without face-to-face interaction, team communication suffers badly.
Yeah, and you know what? That's actually food for thought. I also miss those random coffee breaks where we get to hear all the gossip.
But earlier, you just brushed me off. You see, remote work isn't as perfect as everyone claims.
Okay. I stand corrected. You've made some valid points.
I am glad you see my point. So, are you still planning to work remotely or start traveling to work?
Doesn't this kind of conversation remind you of chats with friends and colleagues about work or other topics, where everyone, shares different opinions? Well, now let's look at the smart words and phrases you heard in the dialogue. I'll explain what they mean and give you some everyday examples so you can start using them confidently in your conversation. The first phrase is to weigh in. Now, weigh in is a phrasal verb. Now, before I explain what it means, let's go back and listen to how Emma used it in the conversation.
Don't you think remote work is totally killing productivity? I mean, people are getting paid to be in their pajamas all day.
Okay, I gotta weigh in here. I'm actually way more productive working at home.
Come on, that's ridiculous.
Weigh in. It means to give your opinion or join a discussion. Like, adding your thoughts to the conversation. So if someone asks you to weigh in a discussion or a decision-making process, they are actually asking you to share your opinion. So what you do is, you put your thoughts, your ideas into the discussion. Here are some examples for everyday use. During the meeting, everyone was asked to weigh in on the new project idea. My brother always likes to weigh in with his advice, even when I don't ask for it. I'm sure you can relate with this one. After hearing both sides, I decided to weigh in with my opinion. At our team meeting, Sarah weighed in with a brilliant idea on how to improve sales. So, to weigh in simply means to give your opinion in a discussion. Alright, next, Emma used the word refute. Let's listen in how she used it.
Come on, that's ridiculous. Most people just watch Netflix, Reels, and YouTube Shorts all day.
Well, I can totally refute that. I actually work longer hours from home because I don't have to deal with travel, stress, and office politics.
Now, before I explain the meaning, let's understand its pronunciation. It's a 2-syllable word and it's pronounced as refute. The stress is on the second syllable, fute, refute. Refute is a verb and it means to prove that something is wrong or false. You usually prove it by giving evidence or strong reasoning. It's often used in debates, discussions, or formal situations. Now imagine if your friend says, doing homework doesn't really help you learn. And you're like, I don't agree with that. That's not true. So you go online and find a research article which clearly shows that students who do homework get better grades. You then show this article to the same friend. What have you just done? You refuted your friend's claim by proving it with fact. That's what it exactly means to refute. Take a look at these example sentences. She refuted the rumor by showing me the actual text message. The company quickly refuted the false reviews by sharing a real customer feedback. He tried to blame me, but I refuted it with the message as proof. The teacher refuted the rumor about the exam date by posting the official schedule. So remember, next time when you prove something through logic or facts, as in why something is wrong, use this great word refute. Up next is the phrase grain of truth. Let's listen in how it was used in the conversation.
Emma, maybe you are disciplined, but most people aren't. My cousin literally keeps munching during meetings with his camera off.
Yeah, there might be a grain of truth there. Some people definitely take advantage of the system.
The phrase a grain of truth means that something is mostly false, exaggerated, or not completely accurate. But there is a small part of it that's true. Imagine your friend says, you're always on your phone. Now you know that's an exaggeration. You're not always on your phone. But as you do spend a lot of time scrolling through social media, you admit it as there's a grain of truth in what they said. I hope you got it. Let's look at some examples. The story sounds wild, but there's a grain of truth in it. His criticism had a grain of truth, even though I didn't want to admit it. She said everyone hates math, but there's a grain of truth. It's not everyone's favorite subject. He exaggerated the project cost in millions, but there was a grain of truth. It was expensive, but not that much. So when you say something has a grain of truth, you mean it's not completely right, but it's not completely wrong either. Because some of it is true. Alright, moving on to the next smart phrase. Food for thought. Let's listen in how it was used in the dialogue.
And Emma, without face-to-face interaction, team communication suffers badly.
Yeah, and you know what? That's actually food for thought. I also miss those random coffee breaks where we get to hear all the gossip.
The phrase food for thought means something that makes you think, stop, and seriously think about a topic or idea deeply. You can say, it's like mental food that gives your brain something to chew on. Now, people often use it after hearing an idea, advice, or perspective that makes them to think and reflect. Imagine your friend says, you don't use a car much, so instead of buying a car, what if you just rented one whenever you needed it? Now think of all the money you would save by renting a car. You hadn't considered that option before, but this advice gets you thinking. It's not a decision you'll make right away, but it definitely gives you food for thought. You start thinking, right? Here are some more examples. Her comment about social media making us lonelier, despite being more connected, was real food for thought. The documentary was real food for thought. I've been thinking about recycling more ever since. The idea that we judge success by money instead of happiness is food for thought. Her unexpected suggestion gave some food for thought before making a decision. So in short, food for thought is an idea that makes you pause, reflect, or see things in a new way. So the next time someone shares an idea that really makes you stop and think, remember, you've just been given some food for thought. Alright, moving on to the next one, brush off, which is a phrasal verb. But first, Let's listen in how it was used.
I also miss those random coffee breaks where we get to hear all the gossip.
But earlier, you just brushed me off. You see, remote work isn't as perfect as everyone claims.
To brush someone off means to ignore them, dismiss them, or not take them seriously. It often feels rude or cold, like you don't care about what the other person is saying. Think of it literally, like, brushing dust off the table or your shoulder, quick, carelessly, and without giving it any attention. So when you brush someone off, you actually ignore what they're saying, or you just cut them off midway. That's brushing someone off. Here are some examples. I tried to explain my idea, but my boss just brushed me off. She tried to tell him about her problems, but he just brushed them off. He kept brushing off my questions like they didn't matter. I felt hurt when she brushed off instead of listening. So you see, during a conversation, if you brush off an idea or a comment, it's like you're casually pushing it aside. All right, with that, we move on to our last phrase in this lesson. I stand corrected. But what does it mean? Let's quickly listen in.
You see, remote work isn't as perfect as everyone claims.
Okay. I stand corrected. You've made some valid points.
I am glad you see my point.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been corrected about something and realized you were actually wrong? I'm sure that's happened to you, right? So how can you admit you were wrong? You can simply say, I stand corrected. It's a polite way of saying, okay, you're right and I was wrong. It's basically a humble way to admit a mistake in a conversation. Here are some examples. I thought the meeting was on Tuesday, but you're right, it's on Wednesday. I stand corrected. And friends, we don't say Wednesday, we say Wednesday. Wednesday, the D is silent. I misjudged your friend completely. I stand corrected. He's actually wonderful. I thought she was from Canada, but I stand corrected. She's actually from Australia. I believe that only experts could understand this, but after your explanation, I stand corrected. Isn't it a great and humble way to admit your mistake in a conversation? I'm sure it is. And there you have it. 6 wonderful words and phrases added to your vocabulary bank. Now that you know the meaning of all the new words and phrases from the dialogue, I want you to listen to the conversation one more time. However, this time, instead of focusing on the highlighted words, try to relate and understand how they're used in context in the conversation. So are you ready? Here we go.
It's been a while. How have you been?
Pretty good, just busy with work mostly.
Don't you think remote work is totally killing productivity? I mean, people are getting paid to be in their pajamas all day.
Okay, I gotta weigh in here. I'm actually way more productive working at home.
Come on, that's ridiculous. Most people just watch Netflix, Reels, and YouTube Shorts all day.
Well, I can totally refute that. I actually work longer hours from home because I don't have to deal with travel, stress, and office politics.
Emma, maybe you are disciplined, but, most people aren't. My cousin literally keeps munching during meetings with his camera off.
Yeah, there might be a grain of truth there. Some people definitely take advantage of the system.
Exactly. And Emma, without face-to-face interaction, team communication suffers badly.
Yeah, and you know what? That's actually food for thought. I also miss those random coffee breaks where we get to hear all the gossip.
But earlier, you just brushed me off. You see, remote work isn't as perfect as everyone claims.
Okay. I stand corrected. You've made some valid points.
I am glad you see my point. So, are you still planning to work remotely or start traveling to work?
Didn't that conversation feel a lot easier to follow this time? Because you knew the meaning of all the words and phrases. I'm sure it makes much more sense to you right now. So now you have some smart vocabulary to talk about expressing your opinion, agreeing or disagreeing in a conversation. Use this vocabulary and it will definitely make you sound a lot more fluent in English. That brings me to the end of today's lesson. If you like this lesson, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and keep following for more such interesting lessons. If you have any suggestions, drop them in the comments. I'm going to see you in the next part of this series. Until then, keep learning and keep practicing English. Bye for now.